At Dot & Company, we believe that all agencies deserve amazing account managers and that all of those account managers deserve to be supported, encouraged, and loved on. That's why we started CAM Community, a membership only for account managers. And inside, you'll gain access to the exact training we use to train our own client facing account managers, but also access to all of our SOPs, processes, and live trainings on a variety of topics. If you're an account manager, this is the place you've been waiting for. Learn more at dotandcompany.co/CAM community.
So there are so many great reasons about why people want to work for Dot & Company and become client account managers, but it's even a bigger part of the world that we live in, which is this remote life. And there's so many reasons why people are going remote these days. And I'm with Olivia today to chat about why she is a remote worker. She's a CAM here at Dot & Company and kind of the reasons why this works so well for her.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat CAM life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
So welcome, Olivia, to the Happy Clients Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So like I said, Olivia is one of our extra awesome client account managers here at Dot & Company. And she kind of prioritized a lot of really cool things in her life. As a result of that, working remote really benefits you. So I'd love to just kind of dive right in, Olivia. What do you love so much about working remote? Like blanket statement, what do you love so much? And then we'll kind of get into the details.
Yeah, of course. So when I was thinking about the answer to this question, I would say it boils down to two things. So location freedom being number one and time freedom being number two. So in the past few years, I've recognized that my partner and I really wanted to move out of the city and be more in nature and live in a small community, a small town. So I didn't want to have to sacrifice my career for living in this small town. And fortunately, working remotely has allowed me to still be working on my career, accelerating my career, advancing my career, but also I get the benefit of, living in a rural place where traditionally I would have had to give up that career path. And time freedom is the second one. So in terms of time freedom, I really value my health and I want to have more time to be able to, improve my overall health. And working remotely has allowed me to do that in so many different ways. The first is just to have more time back for myself because I'm not commuting to work. So I have more time in the morning for a morning practice. I have more time in the afternoon to, go to yoga or take the dogs for a walk. Throughout the day, I get to eat home cooked meals, which I really value. I don't have to go and get something quick that is, made at a restaurant or a fast food place. And I also get to take my own breaks throughout the day. So, I am really big on having a steady meditation practice, and I actually get to schedule in like 15 minutes and I get to meditate at home in my own space in that time. And I really value these small things. They add up over time. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's just this really cool angle. So we'll break it out and that location freedom, because Olivia, maybe you're a little bit like me. Like I would love to be in a remote cabin with my tiny little family and nobody ever around. And that would be lovely. I think the perception here is that, you can even live in a small remote place and the opportunity is still there, right? Like, you're not going to the big city and getting the job of your dreams and, like you can actually have that. And also maybe that remote kind of feel where you don't have to see people or your neighbors or any of that. So how did you kind of get there, Olivia? Like, how did you know that that was something you needed? And then also how remote work kind of was able to be that balance for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, previous to living, like currently I'm living in a smallish town, like 6,000 people, and I love it so much. It's not for everyone, but I absolutely adore it. But prior to that, I was actually living in a pretty massive city. I was living in Melbourne, Australia. I think it's like 6 or 7 million people. And I loved it for the time of my life that I was in, but it was very
Yeah.
busy. And at the end of the day, I was escaping the city every single weekend and wanting like so badly to be living in a more rural place. And then when I want to visit the city, I have the option to go into it. I recently moved back to Canada, and with the move back, decided I wanted to live more rurally. My partner and I, we wanted to live more rurally. We ideally want to buy some land and, have our own garden and just be more connected to the food that we are eating and sourcing. We want to have like a smaller community that we're really connected to in person. And remote work allowed me to do that. So, I mean, fortunately, in the past few years, remote work has become more accessible. So I knew that was an option for me. Whereas, 5 or 6 years ago, I didn't know if that was going to be an option for me. But fortunately, with the transition into more remote work, that was available. And so I was really grateful to, stumble across Dot &
Yeah.
Co, and who's already so established as a remote business, and has all the tools set up to help you succeed in your career in marketing. Yeah, I feel really grateful to have landed in that opportunity to have both. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing either living in a small
Right.
community
Yeah.
or having a successful career.
It's like a restriction almost, right? Like the opportunities are restricted when you're kind of, living in a smaller place. That's just the nature of the beast, right? Like
Yeah.
there's just less opportunities, less people, less things. So having that sort of I guess freedom, that's what you called it, right, Olivia?
Yeah.
The location freedom is awesome. We have in our job description, the kind of the only requirement is like a strong Wi-Fi. Like
Yeah.
that's really all we need. And if there's a gorgeous sort of forest in the background, that's great. Or if it's a big city too, like it really doesn't matter. So I think that's a really great reason why working remotely does work. It's a lot of work.
And, another example of the location freedom is I don't live close to my family. My family is a 4-hour flight away. So, a month or two ago, I went home and I stayed with my mom for a week, and I just worked remotely from her place. I had a nice office set up. No one asked any questions, and that was amazing. I could wake up and have a coffee with her and spend time with her. I could have dinners with my family in the evening and just like connect with them. And I didn't have to worry about taking time off, like requesting that I be somewhere different, because at Dot & Co, it's encouraged,
Mhm.
to explore the world and go and
Yeah.
work from different places. So that's another example of not only can I live in this smaller remote place, but I
Yeah.
also have the ability to travel and see my family or, a friend if I need to. I'm
Yeah.
not restricted in that way. Ultimately, it provides more choice, more option on where we do our work.
I love that. And you can fill up your buckets. Like you're getting work done, getting family time in. That's so great. And I think like the bonus to all that too is that, the people we're working with, agencies we're working with and their teams, like they are also all remote. So as much as Dot & Company's advocating for remote work and travel, go see whoever you want and, go here and there and everywhere. I think it's also like a kind of a cultural thing too of the agencies we're working with, right? Because everybody, I won't say everybody, not 100%, but like, 95, most people are remote. So they totally understand too, right? If your background's different or if you're working from an airport.
It's
Yeah.
definitely accepted for sure.
Yeah.
Like had a great meeting with my other agency the other day, and he was happy to have us, working remotely from different places and excited to see us traveling to different places. Really, and when we're happy in that way, when that our cup is filled in that way, we produce better work as well, right? We
Exactly.
can give back
Yeah.
to those agencies, to the clients, at a greater capacity than if we feel absolutely drained after each day of work, because we've been commuting and we didn't eat that great, or, we're in a poorly lit office. So it's a win-win for everyone, I think.
Yeah, I love that, Olivia. So definitely the location freedom, checking that off. But what about the time freedom? Because I think this is a misconception, like, not a misconception, but maybe difficult for some people to understand when you're kind of, looking at remote work and wondering what it might look like for you. I always, encourage our client account managers to kind of be in charge of their schedule, like if clients are happy and the work is done, what that looks like better than me. So just go for it. So I think that sort of lends to your idea of this time freedom, but tell me more about why that's so important to you.
Yeah, like what I was saying earlier, the time freedom is so important because it allows me to prioritize balance in my life. It allows me to prioritize my well-being and my health, and which is ultimately the health of, my family, the quality of my life. So the time freedom is everything. If I want to meditate at 2:00 for 15 minutes every day, as long as I don't have any meetings scheduled, that is very doable for me. And I don't need to kind of find a space to do it. I'm home, I can do it, right? If I needed to book an appointment, like a doctor's appointment or something, and the only time was available in the day, if I don't have any meetings and the work's getting done, like I could potentially go to that meeting, right? Or if I wanted to finish earlier on a Friday, I could start earlier in the day, so this is everything, and I think on top of that, you're so much more productive and intentional with the time that you do spend working, because you're not like wasting time. Sometimes when you're working a 9 to 5, you feel like you need to fill in the hours, but when you're working, when you have the time freedom in this way, it's more about the quality of work you're providing. It's what results you're providing. And that speaks louder than getting the 40 hours clocked each week, right? So I think it's really awesome on my end. If I can get all of my work done in 30 or 35 hours in a week, and the work is better quality, and I've been more efficient with that time, the client is happy, I'm happy, like that's a great situation.
100%. And I think it's kind of archaic to think like you just go and sit down and like you're just sitting there. Like, what if there's no work to do? Like, why you're just sitting at an office? Like, of course, there's always work to do, but you know what I mean? Like, there's lighter days, especially in this agency life, there's lighter days and sometimes there's more heavier days, but like on those light days, like maybe your 15-minute practice turns into 45 and you're able to like really balance that out. And then you go for a run and you can, kind of do extra too. Like, it just seems so weird to like sit at a desk, right? And just be like, okay, well, I have to work 9 to 5. So here I am.
Totally.
Yeah. I can't really bust out into your meditation in the middle of a cubicle, or maybe you can. Like, kudos to the 15-minute meditation, by the way. I feel like my brain doesn't even get calm until then. So
well, sometimes me as well.
So I think that time freedom is important too. And Olivia, you can tell me how you kind of balance all this. There's an element of urgency sometimes in agencies, right? Like they kind of are always feeling, maybe because it's a digital space and maybe because things move quickly and can really be, worked upon like together all at the same time. Like there is kind of this urgency, right? So how do you kind of balance the urgency with that time freedom?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think setting expectations with the agency and the clients from the get-go is super important. I mean, with everything, there are pros and cons, right? So with remote work life, there are a lot of pros. And then, there is that finding that balance on how to set boundaries, how to set expectations with the other side. And I think that is really important, because if you don't have that structure in place, it's really easy to overwork, to answer your messages at 10:30 at night, or, to like feel into that urgency. So I mean, clear communication is ultimate, like the key, getting clear, having these expectations set from the beginning. So people know when you're going to be getting back to them. My clients and my agencies, they know I don't work on the weekends. Like notifications are off. So if you have something, I promise I'll get back to you 9 a.m. Monday morning. But until then, it'll have to wait, because traditionally when we work in offices, that's when you're going to be getting back to someone. So why should it be any different with remote life? And
exactly.
I've definitely put a lot of effort into setting that structure up within my life. I have a separate office that I purely use for work, and so I'm fortunate that way. Not everyone has that, but so I close the door and work's done at the end of the day. I have notifications on all of my apps, so I'm not getting them beyond 5 p.m. So if I do choose to work outside of that 9 to 5 hours, I'm making that choice. I'm not being pulled in by the urgency of someone else.
I think that's something that can take time to adjust to. Maybe that's like a challenge, especially at the beginning, where you kind of do think like that, like, oh, I'm just at home, I'll answer the email, or like, oh, I'm not doing anything, but then like that kind of waterfalls into like setting that expectation, right? Like, oh, but Katie answered yesterday at 10 p.m. Why isn't she answering now? So just that is probably a challenge to identify as well, right? That there's time zones to consider. And then also kind of those boundaries, which are important and always encouraged here at Dot & Company. But like everybody's kind of looks different. So like I know I worked with an agency once and their hours were just kind of different. Like it wasn't like a consecutive chunk of time. So they had, to do this in the middle of the day, but then would pop on at night or something else, pick up the children, go to the Christmas concert, fresh off the holiday concerts here, and then kind of hop on a other end of that too. So I think being even consistent, like the weekends for sure, evenings, knowing people's time zones is really smart too. But you can have that balance should something, I guess what I'm trying to say, should something kind of be a different kind of day or a different kind of, you don't have to go down and sit and work 9 to 5. You can balance it out if you need to, which is really nice.
Totally. And that was actually something I was going to bring up earlier on the topic of time freedom is, I'm in Canada. It's dark at like 4:30 these days, So another benefit of having time freedom is being able to flow more with like the seasons and what's going on. So right now, if I walk my dogs at 5 o'clock, I'm walking them in the dark. So I really try to, get out at like 4:30, and then maybe I'll come back on and do half an hour of emails and then clock off. But there's so much flexibility, and there's something so nice to know that that's okay that you're doing that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, that's another aspect of having the time freedom. It's just being able to flow more with what's going on in your environment around you.
100%. Olivia, these are really, really awesome points. Location freedom, time freedom, those are all really strong contributors and why we're choosing remote work, why people we're working with, I'm sure, are choosing, and if people are interested in kind of seeing if remote work and Dot & Company is for you, I would certainly encourage you to visit dotandcompany.co. There is some information about applying as well, but I think in our job description, it says take the yoga class or whatever it might be, but that is certainly encouraged here at Dot & Company. I know it is with the teams we work with as well. So it's a really great sort of mindset to be working remotely and being able to have those freedoms. So thank you so much, Olivia. This has been a really great conversation. And if you want to learn more, just head on down to the description and check us out. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Thank you.
Cheers to happy clients.